It's Ruck'n Maul time again. Sam Bruce alongside Greg Growden. Greg, it's the Queensland Reds yet again. We've been talking about them all year. Quade Cooper back last Friday. What did you make of their game?
I thought he went okay for his first game. I think we'll be talking about the Queensland Reds for many, many more weeks to find out. There is an absolute drama going down there, whether the coach will remain or not. But Quade Cooper, I thought first up, not bad. I know everyone's going to complain about, well, he could have won the game with a field goal at the last second, but it was so choreographed. And by the time he got the ball, he had three defenders right on him. It would have been the most miraculous field goal in the history of the game. But still, apart from that, with him there, they're a game worth watching because it was interesting that, Gennair and Cooper were a little bit scratchy. That'll get better. But you could immediately see that O'Connor knows that Cooper is the honeypot. He's just got to keep hanging around him. And when those three get going, I think you'll see some of the best football in the whole Super Rugby. So stick with him because it's going to be interesting because, Checker's a fan of Cooper's. And if he keeps playing pretty well, he could really be the test number 10 again. So, but the problem is he's not the problem, is that the forwards in the Reds are still a major dilemma there because they're all over the place. They really don't seem to know what they're doing. Like their scrummaging's poor, their line-outs, they just dumb throws, silly things happen.
You mentioned Coach Richard Graham, who's been under pressure all year. Brian Smith is now out of the running. He's taking a schoolboy job in Sydney, which could see him progress to Super Rugby down the track.
Exactly. His name has been mentioned at times with Queensland. Even New South Wales, his name was mentioned. But situation, this is a bit of a stepping stone for him because he's got the experience. He did coach in Sydney Club Rugby quite a few years ago. He's been over in England, was over with the England team for a while. So yes, so keep an eye on him. A few years' time, wouldn't surprise me if he was running one of the Australian provinces. Player
exodus continues to be in the headlines here in Australia. News this week, Ben McCalman is likely to head to Japan and join the guys of Scott Higginbotham and others over there.
Yeah, well, Wycliffe Palu is another one who's going to go over there, so we're suddenly looking a bit short of number 8s. Yep. And what this will do is basically force the ARU's hand. They really have to look at the contracting system now. I know they're hard, fast rule. We can't pick anyone from overseas. It's admirable, but times have changed. The situation is, Australian is a different market. You've got 4 football codes, so we should be trying to get the best playing for the Wallabies. So if that means luring players from overseas, I think that's fine. What they're trying to do now, the flexible contracts, that's got a lot of sense about it. Allow the players, a few months and try to make their money in Japan, because you've got to understand the players have only got a short career, and they've got to get as much as they can. And people say they're greedy, and you think, well, you can understand why, because it's a very limited lifespan, and where other people their age are getting themselves heavily involved in business, they're on the back foot. So I really think the ARU have got to show a bit of common sense here.
The other news with that report is that McCalman, when finishing off in Japan, he might come back to the Waratahs. He's a country New South Wales boy. What would that mean for the force?
Oh, it would decimate them because he keeps them together. Again, on the weekend, the game against the Sharks, he was their only good player and he is their most consistent player. And he has had to pick up a lot more slack with Matt Hodgson away. Yeah, it would be an enormous blow. I can see why you've had force officials complaining about, the Waratahs luring him. But the Waratahs would be mad if they weren't trying to lure him because if Palu's going to wander off, McCalman would be perfect. And yeah, at the moment, he and Higginbotham are the 4 number 8s in the competition.
Okay, we had the Wallabies camp under Michael Checker up there in Queensland on Monday this week. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, I heard it was a good, happy situation. All the players were palling around, but I understand that one of the Australian provinces wasn't keen about it and sort of made an edict to the players that after the training session, if you don't lob at a certain gym session, you may not get picked for the next game, which caused a bit of angst among the players. The players have basically said, no, well, Wallaby time, World Cup time, no, fair is fair. So, good idea because they've really got to do this because time is tight. They're not going to have much gap between the Super Rugby and the international games and then the World Cup. So any chance they have got to get together, and I know it's not going to be the squad. There's a lot of players who are going to come in and out, but at least it familiarises players with Checker, with what is required. So, yeah, I think it's a smart move having them.
No dramas between Waratahs and Brumbies players?
Apparently not. It all was resolved. The Brumbies, said what they wanted to say on the field. The Waratahs responded by apologising. So, yeah, everything's fine. Till the next game.
A bit of talk out of the weekend. The referees again coming under fire. The Maul, some illegal players leading illegally with their shoulders going into Ruck's and Mauls. What are your thoughts?
What I'm getting knocked off about is that the referees, I can understand their concerns about dangerous play, but they seem to be sanitising this game too much. I was underwhelmed by Jerome Kano being forced into the sin bin. It was a good tackle, and Dennis did duck a bit, and you think, well, you've got to show a little bit of leniency here, because I know, okay, you had the impact of Dennis' blood over the face and whatever, but for Kano to be sent to the bin for what I thought was a legitimate tackle is wrong. And you see that happening all the time. And you've got to understand the players. If they don't make those hard tackles and they think, oh, I'm too hesitant now, I've got to hang back because I could go in the sin bin, their defence is going to get poor. There's going to be a leakage of tries. And these guys are going to have their spots under threat because coaches say, what are you doing? You're too much. You're not being aggressive enough. So I think the referees have just got to tone it a bit and be a bit more realistic about some of these incidents, because a lot of things which aren't dangerous are seeing people sent to the sideline, which is wrong.
I've always been baffled by the Sansa judiciary process. Last week, Francois Steyn gets cleared of a tip tackle, get into work today, and he's been sent for 5 weeks.
He's out for about 6 months.
Yeah.
It's just ludicrous. And the Sansa judiciary system has been a joke for ages. It's a bit better than what it used to be, where they couldn't find the judiciary officer. I once remember they were trying to track down a citing officer who was on safari in Zimbabwe or somewhere. But yeah, it's embarrassing when you have the Sansa appealing their own decisions, and that's right. It's just. And it just doesn't work. And there's situations now, and you've got the problem there. You've got, with the referees, major discrepancies on how they're interpreting things, particularly the breakdown, which at the moment, you can wonder why players are completely confused. And it's wrong to watch games where you see players looking at the referee and being completely befuddled by the decision. If they're befuddled, what hope has the spectator got? The bloke who's actually sitting there paying the money to watch this on pay TV, and they've got no idea. And you wonder why people are saying, oh, this is too confusing, turn over, I'll watch a cooking show.
Absolute bewilderment from Greg Growden. I think you better enjoy a bit of chocolate over Easter.
Can't wait. Yeah, I'll be egging it, let me tell you.
Happy Easter to all the rugby fans out there.